mouth.
What a relief. Thank you, Gold Crown.
If regular milk makes you feel uncomfortable, try Gold Crown lactose-free milk. Milk that loves you.
LAP Fund is a defined contribution retirement benefit scheme catering for employees of county governments, water companies, and other associated organizations, among others. As we celebrate our 60th anniversary, we wish to thank all our partners for walking with us every step of the journey in securing retirement benefits. We provide retirement savings solutions for everyone. Our products include statutory deductions, additional voluntary contributions, gratuity management, LAP Fund Amal, Sharia-compliant product, Imarisha, and Diaspora Retirement Savings Plan. For more information, visit our website at www.lapfund.or.ke. LAP Fund. Work, save, retire.
Tunapata mtoto mimi na Max.
What?
Max was super excited about your story.
Where?
Tuna spend karibu siku nzima pamoja, sema lunch, sema tena mama, we.
Miss me already, babe.
Usijaribu kunita babe wa mjinga. Kumbe unapanga harusi na Jamila, wewe.
Utendo cheki Sara kwa macho. Alafu msho Sara, mimi ni mwanaume. Na mwanaume haizi angalia chakula ikienda hivi kama vile fisi anaangalia ikienda. Ataingia box pop.
At ZTech University, we are committed to excellence. We have adhered to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 guidelines, keeping our students and the learning environment safe. We're back. We're safe. We're learning. ZTech University. Invent your future.
NTV, turning on your world.
Welcome to another episode of Tizi Nyumbani. My name is Evelyn Owala and I'll be taking you through our leg workout today. Yes, today we're going to train legs. So what you need for our workout today is a place like this, which I know you definitely already set up. You already brought your 2 water bottles, and in case you have weights at home, feel free to use them. If you're in the gym, it's okay, we got you, we're gonna use them. And the 2 chairs that we normally use for support. I'll give you 30 seconds to bring everything together, just in case you weren't aware what we need. So I'll give you 30 seconds starting now. I'll give you 30 seconds starting now to get either your water bottles or your chair. Meanwhile, just swing. If you just woke up like myself, you're definitely, sometimes the body can feel like it's not ready for this, but we are here and we are getting this done. So just make sure you stretch here and there a little bit just to, feel yourself, feel your muscle. All right, our time's up. I'm assuming you brought that, plus you're drinking water, just something there for you. So we're going to warm up with jump squats. I love them because they get to warm my knee joints. I just woke up and sometimes you can feel a little bit like you don't want to move. So they're going to help us. We're going to do 15. When you tap this side and this side, we count 1. Meanwhile, if you're unable to jump, it's okay. You can just do that, and that will count as 1. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, And of course, 15. Well done. If you did that with me, well done, well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Alright. Just walk around. Make sure you're taking enough water, taking your vitamin C, your vitamin D, taking foods such as colored capsicum, taking those broccolis and oranges, like just to subsidize for your vitamin C intake during this season. Alright, time's up. Time's up. Let's go for set number 2. Remember, we're doing 3 sets. We are going for set number 2. 1, 2, 3, and move. Let's go. 1. Move. 2. Don't bend. Squat. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Walk around, walk around. One more set. Definitely, I'm sure you're feeling warmed up as is already. We have one more set to go. One more set to go. We have 10 more seconds of rest. 10 more seconds of rest. And time's up. Time's up. Alright. Set number 3. 1, 2, 3, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, keep going, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Well done. Your rest time starts now. Your rest time starts now. We have 10 more seconds left. 10 more seconds. 4 more seconds. And time's up. So I'm going to demonstrate our next workout. We're basically going to do a lunge, but where you get to cross your leg to the other side. So instead of doing straight back, you do it to the side and down, to the side and down. Alright, so we're going to do alternating. For those who are unable to hold a water bottle or balance themselves, it's okay. You can grab that chair or whatever surface you're using to hold yourself on and just cross your leg to the other side and lunge. Hold that and cross your leg to the other side and lunge. So we want to reach this outer part of the bum. So we're working those legs and glutes. So for those who are able to carry weight, let me just secure the top of this. We'll go 12, all right? 1, 2, 3, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, keep going, 3 more. 10, cross it. 11, and of course 12. Well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Walk around. Remember I said if you're unable to balance, get a surface to hold and just make sure you're crossing your leg to the other side and the other one to the other side. All right. 5 more seconds to the next set. 5 more seconds. All right. Time's up. There we go. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2 more. You're doing well. 12. Well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. You're doing well so far. Our rest time starts now. Just make sure you cross your leg to the other side. If you have dumbbells, you could use dumbbells. If you have plates, you can use plates. But if you have a water bottle like myself, go ahead. The secret is just get the work done. And if you don't have weight, it's okay. You can just do it without weight. Just get the work done. Our time's up. We're going in for the next set. We're going in for the next set. All right. 1, 2, 3, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 1 more. 12. Well done, well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Walk around. Well done, well done. Walk around. We have 20 more seconds of rest. 20 more seconds of rest. 20 more seconds of rest. 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. Walk around. 5 more seconds. And our time's up. Our time's up. After that workout, we're going to do deadlifts. We're going to do deadlifts using the two. We are going to do deadlifts and squats. So I'm going to try and hold the two of them. So basically what we're going to do is that and a squat. 1. Alright, so we're going to combine a deadlift and a squat. 15 times 4. So 1, 2, 3. You bend. 1. Bend. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. Well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Walk around, walk around. All right. We have 5 more seconds to go. 5 more seconds to go. And time's up. Time's up. Let's go. Leg number 2. Remember, we are doing a deadlift and a squat. Legs apart. 1, 2, 3, go. Bend. Squat. 1. Bend. Squat. 2. Bend. Squat. 3. Keep going. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. Well done if you did that with me. Your rest time starts now. Your rest time starts now. Walk around. Your rest time starts now. We have 5 more seconds to go. 5 more seconds to go. And our time's up. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep going. You're doing well. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and of course 15. Well done. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. So our next workout is going to be a 30-second wall sit combined with calf raises. So we often work out, but we forget to work out our calves. In fact, most ladies think if they work out their calves, they're gonna have squares. Well, for some of us, we really want to get those squares, but they never come. However, when you're trying to work out, it's good to bring up all the muscles, and this is also a muscle, so we have to give it some focus. So we're going to do a 30-second wall sit and a 30-second rest. So basically we're going to sit on the wall. I literally mean sit. If you are unable to sit on the wall, just sit on a chair. Yeah, and I mean those who have back problems, those who are older than myself, and I'm old enough, and they're older than me. Yeah, they can sit here and just do the calf raises basically. Or if, for example, you want to do wall sit, you can do the wall sit first without doing the raises and just get a feel of it. And if you can do the wall sit, I want to do it on this wall basically because I don't want to slide on the mat. So, so if you can do the wall sit and do the raises, remember when we are seated, what you'll be doing is contracting that muscle and bringing it down. So to your toe and back down. Alright, let me get myself into position. There we go. So it's good to be at 90 degrees. So our time zone. So 1, lift it up. 2, contract. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well done. Time's up. So our rest time is going to be 30 seconds, starting now. I know it feels like it's such a long 30 seconds, but believe it or not, it's a normal 30 seconds. You could use your timer if you don't trust my timer. Most people right now are starting to feel like my timer is longer than normal timing. But yes, wall sits have a way of bringing that to you. So we have 5 more seconds to go through set number 2. We have 3 more seconds and time's up. Time's up. Let's go. Let me move this closer and position myself. Get yourself to 90 degrees and time starts now. 1, 2, contract. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. Time's up. Time's also up. So our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. The thing about wall sit, it almost feels like you're doing a plank. You know, when you're doing a plank, every single second counts. And it's such a painful, slow count. We're almost there. Time's up. Let's go for the next set. Alright, let's start. 1, 2, with me. 3, 4, and lean back. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And our time's up. time's up. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. So our next workout is going to be quad focus. So just bring one of the chairs there. One of the chairs there. Let me just wait for the timer to run out. It's just one more second. And there we go. So let me move this there. And we are here. So you're going to hold this, move it side to side. We're going to do 15. This and this. 15, then we alternate to this and then back to this. This we're going to do back to back because basically when this leg is working out, this is resting, right? And make it straight as you possibly can so that you can hold using this part of the leg so that you don't hold using the other parts of the leg, including the knee. So let's go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg. Yes, yes. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg, hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. One more. Yes, I said it. One more. Sometimes you gotta spice it up. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The other leg, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well done. If you did that with me, well done, well done. Remember, my name is Evelyn Owala of Eval Health and Fitness. This was our leg workout for today. You killed it. Go out there and conquer the day. Have a lovely week ahead. Bye-bye.
At Jumia, it's Black Friday every Friday. Over 1,000 amazing deals and discounts every day. Jumia Black Fridays, even crazier with DGB.
Mzungu alikuja hapo kitambo akapata watu wanachimba gold. Is this a gold mine? Then Muluya akasikia akasema, hii ni Kolomani.
Fun and food got together beautifully at GMC Place. Enjoy our succulent meals in a serene setting with a varied choice of fun games for the little ones. Cup it up with a cuppa or a cocktail, all available to your taste. Make your reservation today on 0701 560 560.
Introducing Ushindi Cream Bar Soap. It foams well, is gentle on skin and hands, and cleans your clothes and dishes well too. Available in 1 kilogram and 800 gram bars and 175 gram tablets. Also available in all your favorite variants. Ushindi, a quality product from Pwani Oils.
At Jumia, it's Black Friday every Friday. Over 1,000 amazing deals and discounts every day. Jumia Black Fridays, even crazier with DGB.
Across Africa, countries are adjusting to a once-in-a-century health crisis. To unlock new opportunities, rediscover untapped value addition, accelerate development. Can we, as Africa, strengthen the resilience of business and increase the agility of the labor market? Can we harness the realities of the new norm to power partnerships across sectors, boost production, and deepen shared prosperity even to the most excluded? Nation Media Group brings you the second edition of the Kosi Ideas Festival. The theme, Towards a Post-COVID Africa, Recovering Together. The Kosi Ideas Festival, which is brought to you by the Nation Media Group and Kisumu County, will be on the 8th and 9th of December at Siala Resort in Kisumu.
This is NTV.
Greetings, East Africa. Thank you for joining us on your world as we continue to take stock of our daily life. Now, speaking of which, 2020 for sure has left a lot of loss in its wake. Now, whether it's death caused by COVID-19 or any other circumstances, loss just seems to hit differently in 2020. Now, to make a bad situation worse, a friend actually confided in me saying that every time she hears news of deaths associated to COVID-19, she somehow relieves the loss of her mom earlier on in the year. So today we take time to not only remember the departed, but also remind ourselves how to cope with loss and grief, as this is part and parcel of life, and also encourage each other through these trying times. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and this is What Else You Can Expect. This morning, as I mentioned, we celebrate and commemorate those who have succumbed during the pandemic. Just how does one grieve in the midst of a pandemic? We find out more from an expert's point of view. Zimbabwe ruling party declares a journalist an enemy of the state for exposing state corruption. And elsewhere, world's deepest diving pool opens in Poland despite coronavirus restrictions. Thank you for staying with us and definitely being part of this broadcast. Now, our question of the day to you, even as we remember the departed, is actually on the same. Have you faced a loss? Have you lost a loved one? What are your favorite memories of them? Or what is your message of condolence to those that are mourning? You can talk to us. That hashtag is a new normal on our social media handles, and of course you can reach us on our numbers at the bottom of your screen. Now, before we get to that conversation, let's take a look at the effects of COVID-19 in as far as the numbers are concerned. And this morning, globally, that number stands at 60,105,736 confirmed cases. 41,553,765 have totally recovered from the same, and unfortunately 1,404,868 have succumbed to COVID-19. In Kenya, that number stands at 78,512 people who have contracted COVID-19. Out of that number, 52,709 have totally recovered, and unfortunately we have lost 1,409 Kenyans to COVID-19. Now remember, this is a pandemic that is here with us. The resurgence of the same is real, and we all need to take care even as we keep it at bay. Well, let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines this morning, and we start off at the DRC, and Tambo Tamberi, alias Sheke, is convicted of a murder, rape, sexual slavery, recruitment of children under the age of 15 by the military court of North Kivu in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. After a trial definitely that lasted 2 years. Now, Sheke founded the Nduma Defense of Congo, NDC militia, active in DR Congo's restive North Kivu province, where he claimed to be fighting the Rwandan Hutu rebels of the FDLR. Now, a warrant was issued for his arrest in January of 2011 after a series of attacks in which the NDC and two other groups allegedly raped nearly 400 people in 13 villages between July 30th and August the 2nd of 2010. Now, the NDC the NDC was also accused of having recruited at least 154 children into its ranks. Now, due to the rape accusations and other acts that could constitute crimes against humanity, Sheka had been subject to UN sanctions, including the freezing of his assets and a worldwide travel ban. Il ne s'agit pas dans une situation signifiante les éléments. Elsewhere, Ouagadougou residents react as they await the results of Sunday's presidential and parliamentary polls, which took place in a tense security context. But without major incidents and which are widely expected to see President Christian Kabore re-elected. However, hundreds of thousands of voters were unable to cast ballots due to security threats, according to officials, as the West African nation grapples with a growing jihadist insurgency. An undisclosed number of troops were deployed to oversee the presidential and parliamentary polls, but no votes were cast in 1/5 of the country, where large swaths of territory remain outside the state's control and jihadists strike almost daily. Now, the ruling party in his native Zimbabwe has declared him an enemy of state. Now, on Friday, he was freed from jail, his second incarceration in less than 4 months. But crusading journalist Hopewell Chinono is defiant. He will not give up on his cause of exposing state corruption.
We thought that with a new dawn, as it was called then when Emerson Mnangagwa came in after the coup, things were going to change, but things are getting worse.
Hi, how are you?
I was never arrested under Robert Mugabe, although I had made a lot of documentary films which were scathing about his regime, showing the acts of violence. One specific one is a violent response, which I made in 2008, which chronicled the post-election violence in Zimbabwe in 2008, but I was never incarcerated. So this is a new law for the ZANU-PF government. At the Mnangagwa regime, the Zimbabwean government does not want corruption exposed in the way that it should be exposed. And whenever we touch on the looting of public funds and the plunder of the nation's resources, and it involves the president's family, you get arrested. I will not stop exposing corruption. I'm going to continue exposing corruption. That is the nature of our work as journalists. Once we stop exposing corruption, then we've stopped journalism.
Well, that puts to perspective our conversation of the day today, and we are taking time to remember the departed. As I said, 2020 has left a lot of loss and grief in its wake, and we cannot ignore that many are actually hurting. But then again, how do we go through loss and grief and come out of it unscathed, if you are to put it that way? In short, how do you grieve healthily? And also, how can the religious institutions that we know are part and parcel of us and have been part and parcel of this journey with us be or walk with us in this season? Well, in studio to help us understand more on the same, we have Rosa Sanau, who is a counseling psychologist. In the other studio, we have Reverend Father Peter Ken Njoge, who is from the St. Andrew Parish Rirone Limuru Deanery. And we also have Sheikh Yusuf Abu Hamza. Thank you all for joining us on this very crucial conversation. And just a reminder of the question of the day to you this morning is, have you lost someone during this pandemic season, and what are your favorite memories of them? And also, if you haven't lost anyone or know anyone who's passed on during this season, what are your messages of condolence and encouragement to those that are mourning? Remember, that hashtag is new normal. Well, I'll start off with you, Rosa. I mean, you are human, you're part and parcel of this ecosystem we're in. Have you lost a loved one?
I've lost a couple of friends since I think March, so it has been the grieving journey through and through, and many of my friends have also been grieving. Yes.
Are we talking about directly related to COVID or other circumstances?
With regard to, because for some of them are close families, others are not close families, so for some of them it's very not COVID related, others it is.
Okay, so what are your coping mechanisms? I know you're the expert in this one, but you're still human. How are you coping?
Well, I think when it comes to grief, really, there is no expert. And for me, my coping mechanism is more of finding meaning in the loss and coming to the point where what renews and rejuvenates me. I allow myself to grieve, feeling the feelings, cry, you know, journaling about it, but mostly I've found strength in meditating through hope and just finding spirituality has really helped me cope, knowing that there is a higher power that can help me, God, and some things are beyond my control. Yes.
Now, you are a professional that works with others in this journey. So having to sit there and hear other people going through the struggle of loss and grief, and you having your own experience, does it have a counterproductive effect on you, or how do you handle that?
I'd say yes and no. And I think the key is awareness. Because as a professional, you have supervision, you have your own debrief sessions, so you're also able to keep aware that at what point do I reach my limits? Am I able to come to a point and say, I cannot see this client now, or I cannot go to a show and talk about grief at this moment because I am grieving. And then I look at, as I am grieving, how am I coping? Because I also do not want to reach to a point where I either have compassion fatigue because of working with clients who are grieving. So it calls for, as a professional, to be more alert and aware of, one, my coping mechanism, of my limits, and also to do more supervision, because as I take in more, I also need to debrief more. Yes.
And speaking about awareness, the church, the mosque, or the Muslim leaders are part and parcel of this grieving process with so many of us in society. And I'll start off with you, Sheikh. How do you deal with this season? First of all, have you lost a loved one?
Personally not, but I've lost some friends, and I've also lost some very good members of my community, people whom I've been close with, people who are professionals, even some of them are clinicians and doctors. Actually, in terms of grieving, I think the general feeling, like she said, is that it's only spirituality and religion. That is the only source of solace when somebody is grieving. At this time, the only solace that you can find is when you connect with God and when you connect to the beliefs that are there, knowing that there is a supernatural being who is looking after you and to whom you turn to. That is the only hope, because one thing also we must appreciate, that religion is all about hope. And by giving that hope, even for those who are grieving, even for those who have complicated issues of grieving, I think with the hope that I found in religion, they found a soft landing place that their hearts can rest assured that their departed are still with them.
Okay, now Rosa has mentioned the importance of being self-aware, having or being in touch with those that you shepherd on a daily and seeing all this lost around you. How do you cope?
Truly, there's no expertise, or there's no an academic way that we can say this is a scripture that we follow in terms of grieving. Besides that, we only, as human beings also, sometimes we also found in that, because here you are the clergy, you are the person that people are looking unto, but again you're also affected, because the person or the people you have come to grieve with are also connected to you in one way or the other. So it's sometimes difficult. You find yourself even more in it. But again, with the religiosity in us, that is the only thing that keeps us strong. And that is the only thing that keeps us give out hope and the spaces. Because the specific rituals that take place, and also the rites that we perform sometimes, gives us a connection, whether at home or at the cemetery, just to keep on going and just give us strength inside, knowing that people are looking unto us. But as humans, truly speaking, we're also affected.
I hear you, Sheikh, and I'd like to hear from Father Peter. What is your experience? Have you lost a loved one in this season?
Yeah, thank you so much. And in fact, this year started with a bad note. On 1st of January, I lost my uncle before COVID. And this uncle is a brother to my mom, is a son to my grandmother. So I'm here as a priest, trying to tell them all is well. But immediately after that, COVID came. Right now, as we talk, my grandmother has never healed from this. Immediately after that, COVID came. I, as a clergy of the Archdiocese of Nairobi, we lost our former shepherd, His Grace, Digi Mwananzeki. We also lost a priest, you see, one of our elderly priests, Father Francis. We couldn't even attend the burial because of the restrictions of the COVID-19. So again, when there was lockdown, I lost the oldest Christian in my parish, though it was not COVID. It has not been simple anyway. And, you know, people forget that we priests or the clergy, we are still human beings. We also need people to comfort us. But like the situation that I was in January, here I am telling my grandmother, take heart, telling my mother, take heart, but I myself am hurting inside. So immediately COVID came, we lost giants of faith in the Archdiocese of Nairobi. Again, here I am comforting people. So like Sheikh and Rosa have said, nobody is a giant in this. And in fact, we need all of us to join together. And the sense of inspiration always is from the scriptures. Because, of course, you know, from Matthew, the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 5, verse 1 to 12, where we have the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who mourn, because they'll be comforted. That is the most important thing to know. It doesn't matter what we are going through now, whether with COVID-19 or what, but nobody is a giant. We all need each other in this.
Thank you, Father, for being so candid about your own journey. And I think at that point, we can all agree we are all human. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It doesn't matter if you're a clergy. We are living through this uncertain times and very difficult times in the same way, just trying to make it one day at a time. And speaking of which, one of the ways to actually come out of this healthy is finding ways to cope with grief in a healthy way. Talk about that, Rosa.
And I think first of all is just to know, what am I going through? Because one of the things that is common is that right now, one, we have collective grief. The fact that in a pandemic, there is that sense of every single day, like you're saying, the friend who confided in you, that every time I see the news, I hear a siren, it's as though I am receiving the news afresh. So that in itself compounds the grief, because if I was at this level of grieving, it's like it takes me all over again. So in pandemic grieving patterns, you find that it's as though the loss, number one, is very collective. And again, it's like it's almost recurrent, because there is also that essence of when is this going to end? And I remember sharing with someone yesterday and telling them, every time it's reported as numbers, 17 people died today, it is 17 families have lost people. And I was giving her the example of, it's like our village where we are living in. No, Nyumba Kumi is supposed to be 10 houses. So that's more than 10 houses. So who will come and comfort the other if each one of us has a loss in their home? And so there is, first of all, that aspect of it's too much, and sometimes it feels as though my loss is invalidated. So number one is to validate your own loss and acknowledge it, because there could also be a sense of, I call it compassion competition, where you lost a 30-year-old niece, I lost a 97-year-old. 97 had lived a bit longer, you know, or it wasn't COVID, you guys are lucky. So there could be that sense of almost feeling as though mine is not valid. So there is that aspect of acknowledge that it is a loss nonetheless. If it feels sad, if you feel grieved, grieve it. Feel it. That's the first step. Just to say that I have lost something. And it may not even be death. It could be that I have lost a job. I have been auctioned. I have lost my livelihood. So that aspect of first acknowledging that this is what has happened. And then number 2, feeling it. Because there is a sense also of when we are caught in a pandemic and the anxiety of it could be me next. And also the survivor guilt of why did my loved one die? And I remained, or my mom died 3 weeks ago. Could I have been the one who exposed her because I visited her? So that aspect of that survivor guilt and feeling, even the grief fatigue, just allow yourself to feel it and say, this is where I am right now. I don't understand what is happening, because I'm also hearing a sense of trying to rush ourselves, because it's almost as though we're moving from one thing to another. I lost my job. Grieving can wait over a loved one. I need to feed the family. All these other dynamics, they do compound the grief, but acknowledging and validating my grief and then allowing myself to feel it. Be patient with yourself, being kind to yourself. There is the aspect of us looking at be strong for the children, or be strong for your mom, or be strong for the faithfuls in the case of the clergies, but be kind to yourself and just take a pause and ask, Rosa, how am I feeling now that I have lost a classmate? How am I feeling now that I have lost a loved one? Can I just pause and allow myself to listen to myself? I am sad. I am angry. I am angry at God. I believed him for the healing. I prayed and he didn't answer. And you know, sometimes as people who give support, we may be caught in the platitudes of it is well. But nothing is well. Nothing is working. It doesn't make sense. So even as we grieve, sometimes it is moving from the denial, which is normal. Again, it's important to tell ourselves and remember, your grief is normal. It's the death that is abnormal. Because sometimes we come in and say, it's part of life. Ni kawaida, death is just part, just move on. But death is the abnormal event. Your grief is the normal reaction to this abnormal event. So once you normalize that I'm going through a normal process, I'm able to pick it then and say, this is what I am going through. I feel very, very angry that I could not be there sooner. Like in a pandemic, sometimes you're not able to go through the last rites of either burial or the last moments of their life. It's a doctor who will tell you what they said or how they were, and that gives you guilt. So I feel guilty. Writing it down helps. Journaling and telling yourself that, did I do what I could do humanly possible with the resources that I had at that time that I received the news? Did I do the best that I could? Then I'm just allowing yourself to feel and be in that moment.
Okay, and we'll definitely talk about the stages of grieving, which are very important, and each of us needs to know even as we go through each of them. And Sheikh, you again are shepherding a flock, and I'm wondering, what are the struggles you're seeing with those that are mourning, especially in this season?
Actually, our reason, or the main reason for our presence at the time of grief, and in most cases taking over the whole period of grieving or the whole ceremony of burial and all that, is just to preach about patience to those who are grieving, because each person actually has a distinct relation with the other, be it for better or for worse. There are people who had a very good relation with the late when he was alive, and there are people who also had very bad relationship with the late when he was alive. But then at the time of grieving, at the time of loss, people grieve because of the relationship. For somebody who has had a bad relationship, will grieve because had it been the other way, or had it been that I did not do this or I did not do that, maybe we would have had, I would be with him in a good relation, or he would have departed this world in a good note with me. So people grieve sometimes for some reasons. And also we know that in grief also, people grieve to the manner of death or loss. Coming back to COVID, for example, there are some people who felt that their beloved perhaps were not buried but were thrown. People felt that their beloved were not given a decent send-off. So all that adds a lot to the grieving. So what we have to do is that to give the meaning of life and death, that so long as this person is gone, now we need to move on for their lives. We have to give the bereaved, we have to inculcate that they have to be patient. It is what God have chosen, what God have decided. But it's often very difficult because we have the cases that we call complicated grief. Because this questions of complicated grief, sometimes it's somebody over grieving, somebody taking too much time still grieving, not even listening to when he's told, and this sometimes causes losses, sometimes stress, sometimes depression. So this is all what we have to deal with. When performing all these rituals, when performing the rites, what we do at that time is just to give a sense of a hope and a sense of communal, that we can come together as people who knew this person, as people who are together with this person. Today he's gone, but we are still alive, and tomorrow we might be following suit. So it's just for us to give hope and also to preach for people that this is the meaning of life, that there is death and also there is life for those who are still alive.
Okay, and Father, the Catholic Church actually honors the dead during the month of November. Tell us more.
Yes, the Catholic Church, we are honored to, in a special way, remember the departed because, first of all, the celebration of Mass is done. Why? Because of three reasons. That we have a pilgrim church, the militant church, me and you, those who are living now. That's why in the Catholic liturgy you mention the Pope Francis, then the bishop of the place, then of course the laity. Then we mention the dead. And why? Because they are also part and parcel of us. They were living with us, but now they are not with us. So they are in another category that we call the suffering church. And of course, or the church in purgatory. But of course, there are those already who now are not in the suffering church, but they are already in triumphant church. For example, John Paul II, Saint John Paul II, he was here in Kenya. He died, but now he's in heaven, he is a saint. Mother Teresa, you see, we are hoping also our own here, Cardinal, the former Cardinal Maurice, Cardinal Tunga, will be a saint. So the reason as to why the Catholic Church we do this is because of just to remember them and to ask for God to receive them in heaven. And this also is part and parcel of a healing that continues, because it is not only in the month of November, and to be precise, 2nd of November, but the whole month of November. Even today in the morning, the Mass that I celebrated, I remembered the departed faithful because they are part and parcel of us. My uncle, last year, at a time like this, I was with him. I'm not with him now. So there is that connection. I have to pray for him. I have to remember him in that sacrifice of Mass. And in that, I know very well that this brings healing to my grandmother. This brings healing to my mother and the entire family and also the entire congregation. Also the wife to my uncle and the rest of the people, you see, the children. Yeah. And when I go there and celebrate Mass for them, and say, let us remember our uncle, let us remember our friend, let us remember our classmate, at least you feel fulfilled and you feel healing. So the Catholic Church, in a special way, we have this month of November, the whole of it, dedicating it to the departed souls because they are part and parcel of us.
And speaking about dedicating and remembering the departed, well, we are dedicating this show this morning to remember those that have gone before us. It could be because of COVID or other reasons, but this has happened in the year 2020. And speaking of which, the world over has seen a great loss in the number of frontline workers, especially in the healthcare. Now, Kenya has not been spared, with reports of nurses, clinical officers, doctors, etc. succumbing to COVID-19. Now, Kenya has lost 13 doctors, magnifying the calls for the government to do better in catering for all frontline workers. Now, this morning, we remember the departed and salute all healthcare workers for being of service to Kenyans despite these difficult times.
As a fraternity, we have been hard hit, losing 12 doctors and over 30 healthcare workers during the pandemic. Our prayers are with our families and the loved ones. To the public, this might just be mere statistics. To us, they mean a lot. We know these people, we've worked with them, we know their competence, we know their passion, and we know their commitment to the cause. We know how much they go out of the way to give the best care to patients. And so losing them is a painful thing. They paid the ultimate price. We will remember their services to humanity. You know, not all soldiers carry guns to protect their country. Some, like our fallen colleagues, carry stethoscopes. And so may our colleagues rest in peace. May their untimely and painful death break our consciousness as a society and reorient our thinking towards health. May we make health be accessible to all, but more importantly, may we protect healthcare workers so that they're also able to give the best care to the entire public. Rest well, fallen soldiers, rest well, our colleagues.
Didn't know today would be our last, or that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be
And we send our heartfelt condolences to the healthcare fraternity. Definitely, it is not only doctors that have passed away, many others in this sector. And today we remember them and salute them for their service. And earlier on, Rosa, you had mentioned those that are in the front line, those that are in service, there is a risk of suffering compassion fatigue because, especially for the healthcare workers, you're constantly surrounded by death. Talk about that.
And again, our condolences to especially the frontline workers and their families. I think I remember, was it on Sunday, that a healthcare provider was reaching out and saying that it's hectic, and she was just saying 3 patients that just died in my arms, and my colleague just lost also other patients. And for them, you know, they are grieving not only the death of their colleagues, but they also grieve the death of the patients that they take care of, because the fact that there is someone that I am taking care of, I am already a caregiver, so I already have a connection, albeit short, albeit long, I have a connection with them. So there is first the aspect of compassion fatigue, because I am being exposed to the secondary traumatic stress, constantly seeing people dying and not feeling almost powerless, as though there is nothing that I can do, because especially in a pandemic right now, the virus is evolving. There is no vaccine as at yet, treatment. So all we are doing is trying to manage as we can. And as human beings, we are looking at the doctors and asking them, what do we do? And frankly, they do not know. So there is the aspect also of feeling as though they are failing the people that they took an oath to protect or to help. So I think for the healthcare workers, number one is, again, those who can do better in protecting them should. But again, now for the system, the body systems that they have, looking at how can we emotionally be there for one another. Because looking at, for example, doctors and clinicians and nurses, they tend to always have a sense of normalcy when they go back home. But because of the nature of the pandemic, some of them have to isolate from their loved ones. So they are not able to even find comfort ordinarily as they do with their loved ones or in the places of worship, because of the fact that they are vulnerable, they are being exposed to risk. So number one for them would be looking at what is available, what is the available resource that I can use. Again, awareness. When have I reached my limit? And I understand in some situations, because of the reduced number of doctors, they are unable to even get leave. So there is that aspect of I cannot even get myself out of it. So a technique that I call mindful living, living in the moment and looking at, if I cannot get away from it and take some time off to grieve and re-energize myself, how can I take it in the minute? Because sometimes I may not be able to take an hour to recharge, but can I take 5 minutes and just go and in the washroom and put on some music and just jiggy dance about it? Or can I just take some time and just sob and allow everything to come out? Can I? And you see, even for now, we cannot even hug. We find comfort in touch, which is something that has been taken away from us, in the close contact, in taking food because of hygiene. So there is the aspect of how do I adapt with the resources I have to curb the sense of helplessness, because one of the things that grief throws you in is helplessness. And I would my fear for the healthcare providers will be that they feel helpless and then choose to get stuck, that there is nothing I can do. I cannot help people. I cannot help myself. So the aspect of mindful living keeps you in touch. That, am I angry? Can I talk to someone about it and say, I think, can you take this patient now? I need 5 minutes. So that mindful living of being in step, if I cannot get the time away to be able to see a therapist or to be able to just take leave and rest. But again, also, I think continuous supervision will be very helpful. I would highly suggest that at this point, healthcare providers need to be attached to therapists as much and as many as they can. That let there be therapists who can be on call within the vicinity, that they are able to just walk in and debrief as and when needed. There is the buddy system which they peer support one another, but I feel that now is when they really even need the mental care professionals to be there with them, just to be able to look at, to walk through the emotions as they come. Because for them, I feel as though they are in a roller coaster. The emotions and it's like, when do I start grieving? I have finished this death, there is another one. So it's as though most of us haven't even begun grieving. It's like we're just constantly receiving the news and hopefully that we will now get to rest and say, can we now start grieving? And I feel also that the aftermath will be longer, because if we lose a doctor, we are losing a caregiver to almost 10,000 people. If we lose a specialist, we have lost 10 years of investment, both from our public universities, from the parents and the community that had to come together and do the harambes and educate and take them abroad, and for them to come back and begin building the career and experience. So when we are looking at the loss of a healthcare provider, we are looking at an extensive long-term loss that we may not even be able to look at it now, but in the future it will begin to unravel, that we've lost specialists, and even at now our healthcare system is already collapsing, or it's grieving in terms of the doctors are not usually enough. So as we lose them, we are almost entering into a limbo of sorts that how do we deal with this going forward?
Okay.
Yes.
And pertinent issues also touched on there, even as we think about loss broader just from the death of a healthcare worker. And Sheikh, the religious leaders, the clergy, has been looked at as also a place you can run to for counsel. And these are very different and special times we're living in. When it comes to healthcare workers, have you perhaps looked at how you can reach out to them to understand their struggles?
Yes, in one way or the other. Because these are people who are stigmatized by their type of work. And these are people who also need psychosocial support, and they also need people to speak to. And at times like this, the only connection that they feel they need is to be connected to matter spirituality. They need hope, and they need also to know that building resilience in what they are going through is something that someone, only a clergy, can help them walk through. But besides that also, something we can say, Gladys, is that even as the religious leaders, we have lost lives, we've lost colleagues, because almost majority or many of us, adults or people who have come of age, many of us live with one condition or the other. So we are all vulnerable, and you don't know who is next, you don't know what is going to happen, just like what is happening to the medics. Actually, it's from the stigmatization, from the experiences that they go through, because some of them do not even bury their colleagues, they do not even attend, they do not even see them, they just hear that so-and-so is dead and is buried, because people have to be buried quickly, and that. So all that traumatized them. Sometimes they feel, should they go on? Should they stop it? At what point do I need to stop? And here again is a calling for them that they have patience, but just like our sister said, they also do not know what to do with them, because it's just hope again. It's just being there for them, comforting them, because there's no medicine, there's nothing that works. So it's just about a whole lot of confusion. They need people to talk to them in matters of spirit. They need people to give them hope that what they're doing will be rewarded, that what they're doing is not in vain. So this is the only thing that we give them, the only talk that we talk to them. Sometimes it's difficult also for us, because we also feel, we also get touched, because losing somebody, especially losing a person who has built a career. And with these doctors, some of them are very young, some of them were starting their careers, some of them still have very young families. It's very difficult for them to cope, even with their colleagues at work. Imagining that one of them is not there at that age, as young as they are. So all this actually needs a connection. The only thing we do is just to connect with them. But again, here we are as religious leaders also, we are limited to what we can do. With the limitation of people we can see, with the social distancing, with all this, the connection is still not there. We can only talk to them, but we cannot do much as much as we wanted to do with them.
I hear you, Sheikh. And speaking of which, social distancing has literally removed the comfort of fellowship, church, mosques, family, friends. How are you coping with these new ways of shepherding your flock, Father?
Thank you, Gladys. But, you know, one of the corporal works of mercy is to bury the dead. Regardless of the situation, of the way things are happening, like I'll share an experience that I had this year during COVID. A man, our parishioner, died, 93 years old, and he has one wife, 17 children. all are married. You see, that is the time that we had lockdown and all this. So no gathering in churches, you see, restrictions even to bury after one day, not more than 3 days in the mortuary. And what I did is, when they came to break the news to me, I first told them, why did God create us? First of all, to know him. After knowing him, love him. After loving him, serve him. Then later you live with him in eternity. So first of all, though it was very hard for them to accept and to move on, I assured them I will accompany them. Remember, that time the restrictions were 15 people in a gathering only. Here we have a man who has 17 children, one wife, all are married, so times 2, 34. You see, the restrictions. So I had to accompany them to the mortuary. I had to make sure that even if they are not all of them there, at least they can see what is happening. It's not simple, but my presence there as a priest to them, it is a source of inspiration. But let me tell you, these settings of not bringing even the body to the church like they're used to, is not simple. But you have to tell them, we are not in the normal time. Let us do as per what we can. But even after the burial, you have to visit them. You see, you have to cancel them. You have to make sure, like now, I keep going to visit this old woman who was left by this man every day, going to the grave with them, sometimes even praying over them and also blessing them. And it has not been simple, but all in all, it is a corporal work of mercy, regardless of the restrictions of COVID-19 or the situation. We have to cope with it. And indeed, the most important thing is to help them come out of this stigma and come out of this difficult time. You have to, here now you have to apply both sympathy and empathy, so that at least you can make them understand and also move on.
Okay, we hear you and thank you for your acts of service, Father. Now, men and women of service have not been spared by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Family and friends mourn the demise of teachers, men and women in uniform, lecturers, civil servants, air crew, among other sectors. We take time this morning to remember the departed and salute them for their service.
Binadamu ni mavumbi, mavumbini atarudi, na tukifika huko tutaimba haleluya, makao ya raha na starehe iko huko mbinguni. Binadamu ni mavumbi, mavumbini atarudi.
Again, we remember those that have gone ahead of us. So many other servicemen have actually lost their lives in the course of this year. We couldn't get everyone represented on here. And that's why we asked you on that question of the day, have you lost a loved one? What are your favorite memories of them? And if you've not lost a loved one, what are your messages of condolence and encouragement to those that actually are mourning during this time? And speaking of which, Steve says, in regard to the question, I lost my childhood friend in a road accident. He was on duty to enforce adherence to COVID protocol, but unfortunately got into a ditch while riding and later confirmed dead. It was my lowest moment in life. Steve, our condolences. Matthew Zondoro says, I lost my mentor, a teacher and a friend, Dr. A.J.W. Omolo, who succumbed to COVID-19 last week. I feel so much affected to this. The disease is real and people shouldn't take this as a joke. May he rest in peace. Stephen Duarte, I lost my dad, my mentor, a hero, a God-fearing man, and very generous. May God wipe away our tears. We loved him dearly. Stephen Poleni Sana. And the last one for now, Francis Kiduku. Nope, I haven't, but oh, do I thank God that I have not. My condolences, though, to the bereaved. Thank you, Francis, for actually sharing that with us. And of course, remember, we still are taking your feedback on that hashtag New Normal, even as you share with us your experience. Now, just to remind you, in August of this year, renowned sociologist Dr. Ken Oko passed on. Dr. Oko died at the Aga Khan Hospital following complications from COVID-19.
Dr. Ken Oko endeared himself not only to his students of sociology as a lecturer,
my Kiswahili.
but audiences as well across the country as he graciously helped explain societal issues during interviews. Little wonder the outpouring of condolences from students, colleagues and friends that were shared on various social media platforms, as many shared their fond memories of the late Ken Oko. Oko was a senior lecturer at the Department of Sociology at the University of Nairobi, specializing in areas of deviance, family, gerontology and medical sociology, and even made numerous TV appearances.
We find difficulty in social behavior because if it's criminal or legal behavior, so to speak.
The University of Nairobi confirmed that Oko had passed away at the Aga Khan on Saturday, where he had been receiving treatment. He had been admitted earlier after testing positive for the coronavirus. Professor Magoha, speaking during a visit at Maseno University, highlighted Dr. Oko's death as a reality check that COVID-19 should not be joked around with.
He's much younger, he's not even in my age group, and therefore this issue of getting ready is a matter of life and death.
This is the fourth death caused by COVID-19 that the University of Nairobi has suffered. The other recent loss to the fraternity being that of senior lecturer Julius Wamangoli. The NTV family passes our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Dr. Oko. The sociologist of great flair will definitely be missed on air. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
And we at Your World, we fondly remember Dr. Oko because he actually graced us with his presence, sat on this couch with my colleague Joseph Warungu and had an amazing conversation as he was a renowned sociologist. So when we talk about death, it has hit home and it has affected all of us. So our condolences again to all that are mourning in this season. And somebody has asked Rosa, for you to cope with something, you need to recognize that it actually exists. So what are the signs that you're actually grieving?
I think that would be the stages of grief. For example, if one of the signs would be the news of death, where it's a death or it's a loss of a job. So there is, first of all, that breaking of the news. How have I found out that something I held dearly has been detached from me? And again, now that comes to how do we break news? If I'm the one tasked with breaking news, or do I just see my loved one on TV that an accident has happened, and because that process of breaking news complicates the grief. So how I have found out the news, could I go into denial that may extend longer than is the normal, because one of the immediate reactions is just denial. The shock and the numbness. I will feel that I cannot comprehend the news. You've just told me a loved one has passed on, but I may almost as though look like I didn't hear you. I may even just go on doing what I am doing in the split second because my brain is trying to comprehend so that I don't crash. It's trying to come to terms with Rosa has left me, she has gone. And that's why even people begin with so-and-so has passed on, they have gone to be with the Lord, and avoiding the word they are dead. So there is that aspect of denial, that one of the things is I can't come to terms with the loss. There is a shock and numbness, and also the physical reaction. Sometimes you may feel headaches, palpitations, sweating, others may collapse, the crying. So those are the physical symptoms when I am grieving or I am mourning in that immediate time. There is the anger of why did it happen? Why not me? Sometimes a loved one may even feel as though I wish I could take their place. They were more instrumental than I was. If it was a provider, so why did they leave me? I could be angry with the departed. And I think at this point, it's okay to say that it's very, very normal to even be angry at the departed, because you're angry at them. Why did they leave you now? We had promised that we'll be together forever. So not feeling guilty that you shouldn't be angry. You know, the way, especially in the African setting, all that people are good. So we shouldn't ask questions. We shouldn't be angry at the departed. But when I feel that, I know I am grieving. And just to tell myself that this is part of the grieving process. I feel angry now. But gaining is another stage. I wish I had gone sooner. They told me they were coughing. I wish I had rushed them to hospital. I wish I had met them last week. So there is that process. And sometimes we tend to ignore that aspect or that process and say, no, you know, just move on. Let's get on with it. Or you weren't that close to them anyway. So there is the aspect of I am bargaining. What if? What could I have done better? The guilt. Why did I survive? Or we both contracted COVID. They passed on. I survived. So allowing ourselves to feel it and say, I am feeling this. Can I just express it? Can I talk to someone about it? Can I even verbalize it? Because sometimes the issue is suppressing. How do I know is that, am I able to express it, or am I just suppressing it and ignoring it? And then allowing ourselves to go into that, even the sadness and the crying and feeling that I cannot go on. Fatigue is also another sign of grieving. Physical fatigue. Some of them may get checked into hospital while they're grieving because they have the physical symptom but no comprehensive medical diagnosis. All tests come out negative, but they are ill, literally. So in those moments is when I feel that way, can I just take some rest? Sleep if you can. Allow yourself to take a lot of water, eat a balanced diet, because you are recognizing I am grieving, that's why my body is reacting this way. Rather than saying my body is failing me because I need to be moving on. I need to go back to work. Why can't my body cooperate with me? So listening to the cues of your body, of those around you, because sometimes you may not even notice that you're crashing. Well, you receive feedback that we can tell you, hey Gladys, you don't look too good today. Sometimes don't be in the rush to say, no, I need to work. People need me. You know, one of the things that sometimes I tell clients is you have to remind yourself, I do not serve breakfast to the world. If I take a step and chill, the world will still go on. And give myself that time as I listen to my cues that I know I am grieving by what my body is telling me, what my mind is telling me, because we see grief through our minds. We don't see it with our eyes. How we process it. How do I process grief? How do I perceive this death? Is it that I cannot also go on? And in that moment, how can I begin to readjust myself? But even before beginning the process of readjusting is being in this moment and saying, someone has just died. Can I take a moment and be in it? And receiving feedback even from the loved ones around us that I think you need help. And then accepting the help. It's okay to reach out for help. So accepting, if you say, Gladys, you need to go home and sleep, or you need to see a therapist. Not saying, you know, I'm the strong one. Because sometimes we also assign specific people as the strong ones. And then we tell them, you be strong for us. So while you need to be grieving, we are already assigning you with the task that be our pillar and be strong for us. And also that's a cue that if you are used to be the strong one, please take off that role and that cap, because you cannot be a superhero when it comes to grief. So those are some of the things to know and to look at if I am asking myself, how do I know that I am grieving?
Okay, and one of the other stages of grieving is actually acceptance. So at some point, you will actually come to accept the circumstances around you. And Rosa will be telling us more about how you can get there. But at this point, we take a short break on Your World. We'll be back even as we remember the departed. Stay with us.
Jumatano hii kwenye kigoda chako.
Nobody can stop reggae.
Wacheza reggae wanaonekana kupunguziwa volume. Makundi ya ukosoaji yanazidi kuongezeka.
This process has serious implications.
There are no apparent benefit BBI will bring to the nation.
Taifa linapokabwa kuona janga la corona, maswali yanayoibuka ni je, kipaumbele maalum kwa sasa ni nini?
BBI mimi si yangu, mimi naenda nyumbani jameni.
Kama ipo haja ya kweli ya kurekebisha katiba, wakati muafaka wa kufanya hivyo ni upi?
There will never be any right timing because things will be happening.
Na je, kuna uwezekano wa kuimba Jerusalema ya pamoja kama nchi, au warege waendelee kuimba na wawilbaru waendelee kusukuma?
Hakuna haja ya kuwagawanya wa Kenya ati wa kuunga na wa kupinga.
Tutafute majibu hayo kwa pamoja Jumatano hii kuanzia saa 12 jioni papa hapa NTV kwenye kigoda chako.
The Nation Media Group 254 Realty and Homes Expo is back, discussing property investment and home ownership. Join us on 27th and 28th November 2020 at the Sarit Center Expo Center as we engage with property developers and investors, financiers, contractors, insurers, roofing solution providers, ceramic and interior designers, land dealers, and investment solution providers, among others. To sponsor, exhibit, and for inquiries, please contact 0721-678-597 or email property@ke.nationmedia.com.
Across Africa, countries are adjusting to a once-in-a-century health crisis. To unlock new opportunities, rediscover untapped value addition, accelerate development. Can we, as Africa, strengthen the resilience of business and increase the agility of the labor market? Can we harness the realities of the new norm to power partnerships across sectors, boost production, and deepen shared prosperity even to the most excluded? Nation Media Group brings you the second edition of the Kosi Ideas Festival. The theme, Towards a Post-COVID Africa, Recovering Together. The Kosi Ideas Festival, which is brought to you by the Nation Media Group and Kisumu County, will be on the 8th and 9th of December at Ciala Resort in Kisumu.
Every spoonful of Nutri comes loaded with the necessary vitamins, protein and minerals for you and your family to become healthier and stronger. Pick up a pack today from your nearest store. Nutri, every spoonful counts.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. This morning, we are taking time to remember the departed, but also encourage each other even as we go through this very difficult time, as many of us are mourning the loss of our loved ones. Still with me in studio, Rosa Sanao, who's a counseling psychologist. In the other studio, we have Reverend Father Peter Ken Jonge and, of course, Sheikh Yusuf Abu Hamza. Thank you for joining us on this conversation. And that puzzle of a calendar aside, there are concerns of safety of students and their families, as the Ministry of Education remains confident that come January, schools will be ready for in-person learning. Now, a Form 4 candidate at St. Elizabeth Girls Lureko in Mumias West, Kakamega County, became one of the first students to reportedly die of coronavirus after schools reopened partially on the 12th of October. Now, the student passed on while receiving treatment at Life Care Hospital in Bungoma.
Kakamega County Chief Executive Committee member for Health, Collins Matemba, said that the teenager could have picked the virus from her parents, who have also tested positive. He said the girl's parents were currently on home-based care at their home in Mumias West and were in stable condition. The student is reported to have traveled home before she fell sick and was rushed to St. Mary's Mission Hospital in Mumias and later transferred to Life Care Hospital after her condition worsened. Dr. Matemba further said that public health teams had already been dispatched to the school to monitor and assess the situation. The student's death comes at a time when schools in Western Kenya region reported a surge in infections among learners. At St. Peter's Boys Secondary School, 9 students are in isolation after testing positive. At Sacred Heart Mukumu Girls, a Form 4 student who had earlier fallen sick was later confirmed to be COVID-19 positive. The student was admitted at St. Elizabeth Mission Hospital, but she is reported to have sneaked out of the ward, and her whereabouts are still unknown. In Vihiga County, 6 teachers have tested positive to COVID-19, raising the caseload in the devolved unit to 85. The latest situational report released by the Health Department has indicated. These developments come only hours after the Ministry of Education announced that all schools will reopen fully on January 4th, 2021. But it is this statement by the Director of Health, Dr. Patrick Amoth, that appears to expose the government's dilemma when it comes to balancing the pandemic and the school's academic calendar.
Together with the Ministry of Education, it is for us to be able to develop protocols and guidelines that will ensure the safety of schools, of our students and pupils in school, to ensure that we don't lose our future generation because of a pandemic. Suppose the pandemic stays for 5 years. Are we going to close school for 5 years and have no future?
Okukusa, NTV.
And still on education matters, the government has maintained that all school-going children must report to school from January the 4th, 2021, even as education stakeholders continue to monitor the phased resumption of physical learning. The COVID-19 infection appears to have firmly settled in the education sector, but that doesn't seem to change the minds of the Ministry of Education officials. The question on many people's minds is who would be held culpable in the event of the death of students while in school. Charity Mwangi brings this situation into perspective.
Wails from students at Oyugi Ogango Girls Secondary School in Rongo after getting the news that their principal, Martha Ouma, has died. Coming at a time where the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed over 1,300 lives. These girls have a reason to cry, not only for the loss of their principal, but the uncertainty over their safety. The principal is said to have died following a short ailment whose symptoms were quite familiar to COVID-19. However,
just cold, homa hii ya kawaida tu, yes, and some chest pain.
The school administration maintains that the death of Principal Martha Ouma was not because of COVID-19.
It is not COVID-19 because I talked with the principal. She even sent me messages confirming the same. After the tests were done, both of them, they turned negative.
That notwithstanding, they say they are not taking any chances, calling for testing of the students, the teachers, and the non-teaching staff.
For the safety of the children and even us, we are planning to have such kind of a test.
According to the chair of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, 13 principals of secondary schools have died since the schools reopened partially.
Ni kisa kimoja tu ambacho kimekuwa kimenakiliwa kama kile kimesababishwa na ugonjwa wa COVID-19.
While the principals worry for their health, a much troubling situation faces them, that of who bears the responsibility in the event someone dies in the school premises. There may be some clues from a High Court ruling made in May 2020. In a case between a parent of a student who died in a school in June 2017 in Siaya County, the court directed the blame at the school administration for any death of a student that occurs in the school. In this case, the teacher was found guilty of manslaughter for the death of the child whose body was found in an underground water tank of the school. This ruling may provide a precedent should COVID-19 claim the life of any student while in school.
Wizara ya Afya ingeshirikiana na Wizara ya Elimu kutuokoa hapo ili tusipatikane tulikuwa tumefanya makosa.
The gradual reopening of schools now seems like a risk for the Ministry of Education and the Teachers Service Commission that may be forced to pay damages for any life lost, a major headache for the school administrations. Yesterday, a female student of Lureko Secondary School in Mumias West constituency was reported to have died of COVID-19 related complications.
A few of those who are very, very close to the student, washachukua samples, wameenda kutest. So within the next, pengine leo ama kesho, tutakuwa tunapata hizo results na tutajua kama pengine kuna huu ugonjwa kwa hiyo shule.
While the government pushes for a full reopening in 12 weeks, very little is being made public on the preparedness of the said schools to support a safe learning environment and who would take responsibility in case of a COVID-19 related loss. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Now, those two stories put to perspective what many people are facing today with all the loss and death around us. People are in fear and others very uncertain about the times we're living in, and especially in the education sector, as you've had those that have spoken in those two stories. Now, Sheikh, this is a reality we're living in or with on a daily. How are you handling this, something that experts actually call anticipatory grief?
One of the realities that we have to live with is that this pandemic have put our lives in a permanent kind of suspense. We do not know when it will come to an end. We did not know how it's going to be tomorrow, because we had the first phase and many of us expected that it was carving out. And again, now we are seeing another phase. Perhaps maybe they're telling us there is another third wave also on the way. So it is a permanent suspense that our lives have to be. But nevertheless also we have to now prepare ourselves for long uncertainties. One of the teachings that we do as people of the cloth is that we prepare people for every aspect of life. We prepare them